Hey everybody, bonus video this week. I was watching that Ohio State and Minnesota game and saw a sequence in there that reminded me a ton of a sequence that happened in the Nebraska-Illinois game. And it really showed the huge difference in the way teams respond to adversity. So I wanted to show you that clip, and I'll come back afterwards and explain to you some of the differences that I noticed.
Golden Gophers in Buckeye territory, but Morgan is picked by Josh Proctor. He's got a bit of a convoy, thought he might take it all the way, gets knocked out of bounds by the man that threw the pick. Now hold the phone. Dallas Gant called for roughing the passer. Get up high, get anywhere near that cage. I mean, that's got to be a 15 every time. So Minnesota keeps possession. Ibrahim again. Minnesota right back at you. Gophers have the lead by 4. Ensuing Ohio State drive. Stroud. Garrett Wilson. Nude in the secondary.
So while you're watching that, I assume that you know exactly which sequence I'm talking about. I'm talking about the roughing the passer call on Caleb Tanner that negated the interception by Deontay Williams, and then Illinois goes in and immediately scores, tying the ball game up at 9, right? Almost the exact same thing happens in this Ohio State-Minnesota game, except for a couple differences. Minnesota doesn't just tie it. They take the lead in the second half. Ohio State was down at halftime. Really easy to let it start creeping into the heads of a pretty young Ohio State team with a lot of first-time starters, especially C.J. Stroud as the quarterback on offense. He had struggled earlier in the game already, and really easy to let some doubt start to creep in there. But instead, they come back immediately, score again, take the lead. And what I didn't show, directly after that on the next Minnesota possession, there was a strip and a score for Ohio State to give them an additional lead. Basically the exact opposite thing that happened in Nebraska, where Adrian Martinez got stripped, scored, and Illinois takes the lead going into halftime. That sequence isn't about Ohio State being more talented than Nebraska, because Minnesota's more talented than Illinois too. The difference is, yeah, there's a big difference in talent there. But the way they responded to that sequence is 100% about mindset. It's 100% about mental toughness and the fortitude and commitment to what they do from the top down. That's the huge difference in the way Nebraska and Ohio State responded in those situations. And the reason I brought this up specifically, A, I thought it was uncanny how these two sequences were so similar, and B, I had somebody ask me, hey, does Ohio State even get called for that penalty in that situation? And I said, yeah, they do probably, but they overcome it and it doesn't matter, so we never talk about it. Well, I'm going to talk about it because that exact thing happened. The penalty on Ohio State was probably, in my opinion, much softer, although still an accurate interpretation of the rules, a much softer roughing the passer than the one that happened on Caleb Tanner. Caleb Tanner drove him into the ground. You can't do that. You can't touch a guy in the face either, but it was a softer penalty, in my opinion, against Ohio State. That was called. And exactly like I said, Ohio State didn't crumble, even though they lost the lead again, even though that it was in the second half rather than going into halftime. Ohio State responded. Yeah, they're more talented. Okay, I get that. But you don't have to be more talented to not let one mistake, to let one setback ruin the entire game for you. When it happened to Ohio State, they immediately responded and beat a pretty good Minnesota team. I was really impressed with how Minnesota played today, even after Ibrahim went out with the injury. Nebraska gave up 28 unanswered points after their setback. That's not a physical difference. That's happening up here, that's happening right here, and that's all coming from the top down. I thought it was an incredibly close sequence of plays that happened that illustrates really well the difference in mindset between winning teams and losing teams.